Welcome back. We're here to look ahead to Sunday afternoon's Premier League match between Spurs and Crystal Palace. Barnes Spurs finally got their first win of the season at Sunderland last time.
Yeah, it wasn't the most encouraging performance or result for them really, but that win to get that under your belt finally is a big weight off their shoulders. I think they're very fortunate, probably not to lose that game, let alone win it, because Sunderland had the chances. They hit the woodwork twice. Defoe in the first half pulled their defenders all over the place. Toby Alderweireld had a terrible time dealing with him in the first half, especially. Vertonghen next to Alderweireld had a really good game in centre back. I gave him man of the match in the end, I think. But to won that match when they're not playing too well would have really pleased Pochettino, because his side until the 70th minute didn't really offer anything going forward, which is a big worry considering obviously we know about Kane's struggles in front of goal and the fact that Mason got the goal from midfield. It would be a worry, but it'd also be a plus that they might have goals coming from midfield. It's a really good team move from Tottenham to get the goal, and just Sunderland, who had defended quite well up to that point, apart from the odd dodgy moment. They just got completely undone by some slick passing and some really good team moving. If they can quicken the pace up a bit more, they're obviously hurt by injuries to Eriksen in the last few games. He hasn't been there. He helps do that. But if they can do that, Lamela came on and looked quite bright. First time, probably the best I've seen him in a long time play for Tottenham. So if they can get him starting to play as well, then there are positive signs to take from their match. But the performance overall, apart from the final 20 minutes, was still a bit worrying despite the result. The result is, of course, the most important thing to get that first win under their belts. But Pochettino probably would have had mixed emotions after that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the record, they've only actually lost one of their last 7 in the league, so that reads okay. But there's been a lot of draws in there, and it hasn't felt that convincing. The start has it, and like you mentioned there, Kane again going scoreless in that match. He had that chance with the volley at the back post where the ball came over to him, and all he had to do really was get it on target. It probably would have gone in, but he couldn't even make contact and direct it towards goal. So that was disappointing, and he struggles still go on. I mean, I'm sure he will get his first goal of the season soon because he is their number one option up front. He's going to start most games, and you mentioned about Eriksen there. He could be back for this one. That'd be a huge boost because Eriksen and Kane do tend to link up really well. I remember on the opening day of the season that one move where Kane flicked over to Eriksen and he was so close to scoring in that game. So if Eriksen comes back, that could be a huge boost. But Mason might be out because he injured himself scoring that goal. It was a really brave finish and a great finish, but he injured himself and he could be a doubt now because he'd actually been playing quite well in that sort of more advanced position with Eriksen not there. So if he's missing, that would be a blow to them. But Eriksen coming back is the big thing for them. He's probably their best player, Eriksen, when he's on form. So if he can come back, that'd just be huge for the team and for Kane especially, because Kane knows that if he keeps making those runs, Eriksen's probably the player most likely to find him with the right pass. So if he's back, that'd be a boost. And Clinton and G as well, who they signed from Lyon, he hasn't even played yet for them. So because he's been sort of a doubt with an injury, so if he can come back and maybe show the fans something different, we don't know too much about him. So hopefully the fans will hope that he can have more of an impact than say Lamela did last year, because he was all that big money signing last year and he didn't really do anything. So positives perhaps if Eriksen can come back.
Yeah, and they could certainly do with a boost considering their fixtures coming up. They've got it's quite early in the season, but it's potentially a season-defining set of fixtures coming up. See, this is by no means an easy game against Crystal Palace, who have been so impressive so far this season. They've got Arsenal coming up in the League Cup, and then they've got Manchester City, Swansea, Liverpool in their 3 Premier League games after this. So domestically, it's a big run of fixtures for them. Thrown in with them, of course, you've got a few Europa League games as well, so we all know how teams tend to struggle after the Europa League game on the Thursday. So it's a big set of fixtures coming up. It makes that win over Sunderland all the more important. They really had to win that, but as I mentioned, the performance against the Sunderland team, who have been so poor so far this season, wasn't entirely encouraging. They're certainly going to have to play better than that against these big teams if they're going to get those results and start moving up the table to where they hope to be, which is perhaps pushing for 4th again. Whether they can do that, I'm not so sure from what they've shown so far this season. But they need probably to win games like these. And you think their home form hasn't been too impressive recently. We mentioned it quite a lot last season that White Hart Lane's it can be a nervy ground to play in for them when things aren't going well. They've only won one of the last 5 in the Premier League there after 10 games unbeaten before that. So things aren't going so well at home, and if that one carries on too much further, the fans will start to get on their back, and Pochettino may start coming under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, and if you include this week's Europa League tie, they've got 4 home games in a row, including the Arsenal League Cup tie, which is obviously a huge game. So it's a really sort of big run of fixtures coming up, 4 games at home, and they've got to show the fans more at home. So this is a big game, and Palace are going to provide a real stern test. They've had a fantastic start to the season. Last time out, they hosted City at Selhurst Park, and it was a really good game. Both sides had plenty of chances, and Palace, they could have maybe got something from the game. City probably just about edged it, and then 90th minute, Nacho comes in, steals in with a poacher's effort, and a really crushing blow that for Palace, because most other sides this season have been blown away by City, dominated, and Palace gave them their sternest test so far and just came up short in the end. It was a disappointing defeat for them, but still on the whole they're sitting sixth, and it's been a great start to the season for Palace.
Yeah, to be sixth when they've had such a difficult start to the campaign. They've already played the top three from last season, and they've performed pretty well in all of the games. Arsenal and Man City, they matched them for long spells. You'd probably say they deserved to lose both of those matches, which they did in the end, but obviously the win over Chelsea, huge result for them. So to have 9 points after 5 games, having played last season's top 3, is a really good return for them, and you can see them kicking on from that. We've mentioned their away form time after time in this video, because they've got the players to just hurt any team on the break, really. They almost think back to last week against City, where you'd expect City to have more of the ball. Those sorts of home matches suit them better because they are better on the counter-attack, and this is likely to be another sort of game like that, especially with Spurs. They've got attacking fullbacks. They like to get forward. The likes of Zaha, Balassi, Punch, and they can really do damage, and I think that's what they'll be looking for again this week.
Yeah, and all four of those sort of players, Punch and Sacco, Zaha, Balassi, they all started against City. And I think Pardew might do the same again here, because you think they're away at Spurs, a side who probably will dominate the ball. It'd be interesting to see if he starts with just all four of those players who just love running forward the ball. And I think it could be a really exciting game. What's your score prediction?
Difficult one to call, isn't it? But I've got a feeling for Palace in this one. They're just so good away from home. I can see them picking up a win here. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Crystal Palace, I think.
Yeah, I fancy Palace to win it as well. I think it could be a really exciting game, and I'm going to go for a 3-2 away win. So both see goals in this one, and both see Palace winning. Thanks for joining us.